Hello there everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to review time. And I'm very excited for this one because this is a film that had a lot of buzz. It was a film that had a limited release here in the UK as well as the United States, and it did really quite well. There was a lot of buzz around it for its uniqueness, for its retro style, and for its originality. And when I seen the trailer for this one a few months back, it really stood out for all the right reasons, and I couldn't wait to see it. Unfortunately, I work full time. Due to that, I didn't have the opportunity to see it in theatres when it had its limited release, but it's now available on Shudder, which is the horror subscription service. If you haven't seen it, get yourself there. There's some really good content on Shudder. And what I'm talking about is this. It is, of course, the one and only Late Night with the Devil. Now, what I loved about this is the fact of its setting. It's set in the 1970s. I love the fact that the lead actor in this, with this, who is David Dastmalchian, who is normally, most of the things he's starred in, he's been like a side character, or he's been a sidekick. I think his first ever role was as the psychotic inmate who was in the crowd in The Dark Knight. That was planted there by the Joker. And he's been in things like The Suicide Squad. He had a great role in that. He was recently in Oppenheimer. He had a small role in that. So the thing with this particular actor, he's always been classed as, like, I guess, a supporting actor, where this for me was really surprising and a very pleasant, change that he was, the lead actor. So David Dastmalchian. So let's take a look at Late Night with the Devil. So Late Night with the Devil is a 2023 supernatural horror film written, directed, edited by Colin and Cameron Keynes. It stars David Dastmalchian, Lauren Gordon, Ian Bliss, Vasari Bazzi, Ingrid Torelli, Rise Oteri, Georgina Haig, and Josh Cogan-Tart. So that is the main cast. And it, of course, it's the great thing about this is the story. So here's a little glimpse into the story. A live television broadcast in 1977 goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. Now, the great thing about this film is its setting. It has a retro vibe, like I said earlier, and it has a retro feel. Even the cameras that they use to film this film, it feels like the dated cameras where they're capturing what they can on, obviously, the real cameras that they had in the 1970s. And the whole idea of this feels as if it's like, there's, back in the 1970s, like today, you had your late night television shows, and back in this particular film, you have Johnny Carson, who was the king of late night over in the good old US of A in the 1970s, and you have the character that David Dastmalchian is playing, who, he is his rival for the late night talk shows, and you hear his backstory throughout the beginning of the film, which, he plays Jack Delroy. So Jack Delroy, the host of Night Owls, and basically he has Night Owls, and then you have Late Night with Johnny Carson, and, you see in the beginning how this Jack Delroy is basically climbing the ranks of talk show hosts. He's happily married, and you see, like, the ins and outs of his life, like in the first beginning of the show, you see these stories where he meets his beloved wife, he gets married, you see him raised to fame, you then hear all these conspiracy theories about him being part of this secret cult somewhere, and then you see the tragic events of his wife who tragically passes away, and the ratings for Night Owls is diminishing. Johnny Carson's still #1, so in a desperate attempt to basically, keep his show on the air, he decides to bring in a group of guests who basically, one's an exorcism, one's apparently can talk to the dead, and the other one is a skeptic who believes all of that is fake, and the charlatans and the con artists. So you have all this in the mix, and the whole film is based on, I guess, the last taping of Night Owls, where all this event takes place. And it's really inventive, it's really creative, the cast are fantastic, and like I say, it's not just David Dastmalchian who plays Jack Delroy, who's brilliant, who, you see his story, how he's desperate to save his show, but he's also a grieving, widow from losing his wife. And then you have Lauren Gordon, who is June Ross Mitchell, who is a parapsychologist and author who gets brought onto the show with this young girl who is she's a young girl who has this ability to talk to this entity that she calls Mr. Wriggles. And why did she call him Mr. Wriggles? Because he seems to wriggle in and out of her body. So that I found that whole concept interesting. The whole setup of this film is brilliant. Like I say, it's in the 1970s. The camera angles, the cinematography is fantastic. Everything just feels 1970s, but it also feels very original and very creative for a modern horror movie. And when all of the horror elements start to take place, it's not just jump scares, it's not just done in a way to just give you a quick little fright. The one element that I loved about this is the build-up and the anticipation for the horror to start. How you have Jack Delroy, who is having these guests on his show, and the first guest is the one that can talk to the dead, and he talks to the audience, and it's all done in real time, and you get the two different, the parallels. You see the camera angles when he's hosting the show, Jack Delroy talking to the audience with his guest. Then you see the other side of it, where you see him backstage talking to the producers and the writing team and the creative team of the show, and you have one of these person on the show who is leading the band, who does the introduction to his character, who has a big plot to play throughout the plot of the movie. So it all very feels like found footage, real life television taping that's been taken and is now being displayed for us, the audience, to watch. And it really, really works really well. How they do that. The horror elements in this, when they happen, can be very, uncomfortable. There is some horror element that pop out where it does feel like it is from the 1970s. The effects feel quite 1970-ish, like, puppetry and, using different, face makeups and different, aesthetics like that on the faces. So you do see a particular scene where something happens to one of the characters and something pops out of his face, and how that's done, how they use the makeup effect during that particular element of the film. I didn't expect it. I wasn't expecting it to happen, but it kept his grip, and it kept his grip till the very end of the story. Like I say, it's a slow build, and it's not there just to give you jump scares. It's a film that builds on the character's story, and once you're in it, the scares gradually build up. The horror elements gradually build up. It's not just one quick scare, then we'll move on to a little bit of the plot, then we'll have another jump scare. You go from it slowly building, so there's little elements and little hints that something's going on within the television studio. Lights begin to flicker. The character who can speak to the dead, you first think that he's a con artist because he does speak to some members of the audience and he gets some facts and things wrong, so you think straight away he's not the real deal. Then he suddenly talks to a lady and a daughter, and he is able to give them information that is events that have really happened and of a person that they've lost. And then that's when things begin to heat up. And then the skeptic, who is probably one of my favourite characters in the film and a part of the plot. So the psychic is called Christo. He's the psychic and he's played by Fasia Bazzi. So he is the one who is the psychic. So he is the one that talks to the audience and connects them with members of their family from the other side. You then had the skeptic. I'm trying to think who the skeptic was played by. You've got Ian Bless, so the actor is Ian Bless, and he plays Carmichael Haig, a former magician turned skeptic, and everything that goes on the show, he is questioning left, right and centre. So when the lights flicker, you've pressed a button on the wall, or, when you see, the psychiatrist, when you see June Ross Mitchell, who is the parapsychologist and author, when she brings on Lily de Abo, her name is called, that is the name of the character. She is played by Ingrid Torelli. She's the survivor of a mass suicide, and she's a young girl. And after the events happen with the psychic, Mr. Torelli, where some really horrific things transpire, because of the questioning and the skepticness of, obviously, the character of Carmichael Haig, who's played by Ian Bless, because of those skeptics, he then brings on the next guest and they perform, this exorcism, if you will. Not really an exorcism, it's more or less a demonstration of her being possessed by this entity called Mr. Wriggles. And things start to get gloomier and gloomier, and the plot continues on from there, and it gets deeper and deeper, and the horror elements slowly come out, surely, bit by bit. And there's a bit with worms, there's a bit with the things levitating, all of that jazz. So plot wise, fantastic. The setting is fantastic. The cinematography is fantastic. The cast, all of them, from the skeptic to the television host to the psychiatrist to the psychic, they all play an integral part of the plot, and each actor in their role is very believable and brings something different. And like I say, the lead actor, who is generally just a supporting actor, David Dastmalchian, he really surprised me with how good he is. I've seen how good he is in dramatic roles, in serious roles, in, roles where he's maybe have been the butt of someone's joke, and he's always delivered. And to see him in a lead role, I think it's refreshing and it's about time, and I really think he delivered. And I love the element of the backstory of him and his wife. He's just wanting to be a television host, he's wanting to build a career. He unfortunately loses his wife, and you can see he's a grieving husband, and he's trying to hold himself together in his grief as well as host the show, and to keep his career on, to keep his career, which is on the line if this episode of Night Owls fails. So there's a lot of desperation in this with his character. The directors did a fantastic job. I think how they've presented this film within the television show kind of, frame was really well executed and really well put together. The directors of the film were Colin Kames and Cameron Kames, and I've never heard of these before, but I thought for a first time film that I've seen of theirs, I was really quite impressed. If I had a negative, I would honestly say people might not be happy by the payoff of the plot by the end. I don't know if people will be disappointed or if they'd be surprised in, they're satisfied with the ending. Because the ending of the film, for me, was slightly shocking. And it ends kind of on one note. So that for me would be my only negative. But I love the creativeness of this film. I love the originality of the film. And I love the retro vibes and feels of the film. And it's something refreshing because of these elements. Because we get used to all the jump scares, all of the stereotypical, cash grab films. This for me was a well thought out film with a well thought out plot and a well thought out creative idea that was well executed and well put together. So if I had to rate Late Night with the Devil, I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 because of all of the positivity that I feel it has delivered for the horror genre. Some people, I said there's one negative, and that might be the payoff at the end. But I guess one of the other elements that might be classed as a negative, but I personally didn't find this a negative, is some of the effects. They use practical effects, and some of it does come across straight away a bit corny, cheesy. But I think they're deliberately delivering this to come across as a 1970s film. It feels it looks it has the retro vibe like I keep mentioning. So for me, it didn't bother me. It did the job it was intended to do. It meant to be a found footage or a documentary based on the last episode of the Night Owl, late night talk show. So for me, it did well, and like I say, very impressed with David Dastmalchian. I thought he did a brilliant job. So 8 out of 10 for Late Night with the Devil, and I hope to see what comes next from his career, and also Colin Kames and Cameron Kames, the director of Late Night with the Devil. And I hope you get to check it out. If you do want to check it out, it's available on Shudder. And I have one little fact prior to, ending this, and that is this. The film opened on the 22nd of March 2024 in 1,034 theatres in the United States, Canada, and earned $2.8 million in its first 3 days. The best opening weekend for an IFC film release. Additionally, media outlets noted that the total included an estimated 666.666 gross on its 3rd day. Bit creepy that, all the sixes, and we know what that means. Late Night with the Devil. So, 8 out of 10. And I've had fun with this. If you want to check it out, like I say, go to Shudder. It's on there now. I hope you've liked this review. It's just a quick little flash in the pan review, but I wanted to bring it to you because it's something I really enjoyed watching. If you liked the review, I'll get my teeth back in. If you liked the review, please like, share and subscribe to the Entertainment Headquarters. And I'll, be bringing you some more horror reviews real soon. Until then, enjoy your movies, enjoy your television, enjoy all things entertainment. And I'll catch us all at the next one.